Well, hello there, traders and investors. I'm LA Little, and this is your daily NeoTA wrap. Take a look at these markets. We're doing it from a neoclassical perspective. That means each time we're asking ourselves what happened today that might be significant, and what does it tell us about the coming days? What are those tests? How did they take place? What does it tell us? That's neoclassical in a nutshell. As far as what happened today, let's take a look at the charts. Or actually, let's start with the quotes. Had a pretty big down day today. The only things that were up were oil and bonds. Outside of that, it was down. It was down in gold slightly by the end of the day. Silver took a pretty good beating. You had big moves down, especially in Europe. The DAX in particular, Deutsche Bank, right? They're getting hit again. They're under 10. They're in single digits. People are starting to say it's a Lehman moment over there. I don't know if it is or not. I do know that the powers that be will do everything in their power to keep it from being that. And I expect that you'll see something come out of there before long to try and prop that up, that situation. As far as elsewhere, Switzerland down, China, the CAC's down, the Nikkei was down, Hong Kong. I mean, just go across the board, all the way down. 1% pretty much across the board here in the States. Let's take a look at those charts. I'm going to start here with the Russell, and we'll work our way back the other way. Now, what you're going to notice on all these charts is I don't think we had very much volume across all of them. The bad thing is that they got too deep, and what I mean by that is they were essentially doing a bullish retest regen. The highest of the bullish marks was the highest swing point high that was broken. That was right up here. Well, that didn't last. They got under it right off the bat, stayed under it, and they go into the second of the two. Now, that's not exactly what you would want, but you would like to see it stop here. And so if you're bullish, you want to see tomorrow, you want to see this market turn around and start back the other way. If you go down much more, right, you're going to be digging into something much deeper. And what had started here as another attempt to take this higher, in other words, this was another uptrend. You can see change to sideways, change to bullish. Now you're coming back. Early warning systems, what is it telling you? Hey, what was this way is probably that way. And so the bad news is that we've probably got more consolidation, congestion that needs to take place. Let's go to the S&P. Now, the S&P never got over those highs, right? It didn't even get to them. It did get over some key marks last week. In particular, it got over the first of two, just like we're talking about here, where we're getting under the first of two bullish ones. Well, this one got over the first of two bearish ones. And it actually got over two of the three that were out there. The third one was up here. And so it got over the first two, and then it moved up and tried to get over the last one. Well, it failed there, got back down on Friday, and today just blows right back down underneath the swing point low. That's not good. So now you're down into the bars with volume, and at this point, it looks like unless this also turns immediately, you're going to start targeting the lows again. And so you've got to see the market turn, and turn fairly quickly if we're going to see this market still trade sideways, potentially higher. Going to the NASDAQ. Now, the NASDAQ had two swing point lows just like the others. I'll put them together. It barely got underneath both of them. And so the NASDAQ also gives it up on the early warning system. The only one that didn't was what has been the strongest, and that's the NDX. Now, the NDX has three of them. The low here, 48.12. The low there, 48.16, and this one over here was 48.14 roughly. Where does it close? 48.17. So it goes into all of them, gets just barely back over them, declining volume everywhere on a fast move to the downside. Usually that's not a bad thing if you're bullish. We'll have to see if they turn it tomorrow. And I think a lot of that's going to be what happens in what is going to be a presidential debate here shortly, as well as the European debate, if you will, on what happens with the banking sector. Speaking of the banking sector, let's go look at those European stocks. And we'll start with where the turmoil is taking place, and that's in the DAX. So let's go to the DAX first. Now, The DAX had gotten over, or actually not gotten over, it had gotten under this wide price spread bar. Then it went back up and tested the top of it, and now it's back underneath it again. Volume expanding, not hugely, but volume expanding. The big deal now is, what are you going to do on the way down? Remember, this was the quad witching day that took place in the U.S. There must be quad witching elsewhere because volumes expand all around the globe when this happens. That now is a target. And so if this gets any deeper tomorrow, your target is that low. That low is 10,262. And I wouldn't think you'd have to go very much farther to go try to dig back into that. If you look at it on the weekly, you got 2 swing point highs, 10.62. This guy is 10.004. So, you know, you could still go another couple hundred points on this time frame and still be looking okay. But, you know, the market to some extent trades on the short-term time frame a lot of times. A lot of folks focus on that time frame. And so, you know, a lot of movement can take place on that time frame. If you go back to the writings of Dow and Hamilton, you know, they said ignore the daily time frame, only look at the weeklies and the monthlies. And, you know, to some extent, I think that is what most traders, or at least good traders, try to do, right? They try to look a little bit farther out, not at the short-term time frames. If we go elsewhere, you got some damage, and I'm going to switch over to Asia. You got some damage in Asia. There's the Hang Seng. If you look at the topics in Japan, the Nikkei, that one got pushed back down last night. If we look at, where's the, I want to show you China. Here it is. Here's China. Look at China getting slammed. A wide price spread. Volume doesn't expand, but this now is targeting these lows down around 29.50, 29.40. Flipping back to Europe, Switzerland was down the least of the group, but Switzerland also back into that big bar with all the volume on it. And the CACs, which actually got some good economic reports, not getting hit quite as hard as Germany. So that's the way it looks overseas. The other thing that's happening that we've talked about quite a bit is that we're seeing more and more this yen trying to break higher, and I think it's going to be a big problem if it does. So here's the Japanese yen grinding back up again today, going back up towards this wide price spread bars high, volume expanding a little bit today. If this starts breaking these highs, folks, we're going to see some turmoil most likely, and so that is something to keep your eyes on. Gold, as I said, ended up giving it all up by the end of the day. Gold seems to be stuck in the mud, can't get anything going. Look at some of these I haven't looked at in a while. Here's copper. Copper doesn't look bad. Let's see what the dollar looks like while we're here. And dollar's still holding a range. So currencies aren't moving that much. The thing that's really moving is the equity markets, and we're going to have to see the bulls circle the wagons fairly soon, or we're going to get a deeper retrace one more time. I'm going to leave it at that for tonight. Go to look at the debate here, see how that shapes up tonight. It's one of the most interesting probably debates we'll see in our lifetime, so I kind of want to watch that. I'm going to cut it short. Have a great one. See you next time. Good night.